Madzima, the National CEO for National AIDS Council. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I am Robert Afmani from Slides.
Men. Yes, can you introduce
Yes, I'm Robert Afmani from Slide Media.
Mastage Genangada Amboti Robert. Kana sene ngada welcome. And thank you everyone for coming. Now, may I ask Dr. Madzima to give us his work?
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. Afternoon, everyone. You're very quiet. Is it cold? Huh? It's cold. Maybe you can alternate between switch on and off. Well, I actually felt, yeah. So, colleagues from the media and from NAC and from Sunrise, let me welcome. Let me officially welcome you to the National AIDS Council, the home of the National Response. So, this is a press up where we are going to give an update to the nation and to the media on the report which was completed, which is called the Global AIDS Monitoring Report. So as per norm, in this COVID environment, this event is also live on Zoom because we have to respect the COVID-19 containment measures in place. And let me reiterate that we need to observe the WHO guidelines, which include maintaining social distancing, washing and sanitizing of hands, temperature screening, correct wearing of face masks, and others. So you see that on the screen there, it's written Dr. B. Madzima as the one who's going to do the report. I have a team with me. I could have done the report as far as the reading it is concerned, but there are going to be drafts there and some tables. And I was very worried. I told my team that they are people like Theophilus who are then going to ask me questions about those graphs. So let me have my technical team backing me up and trying to explain some of those graphs and the trends which have happened over the past few decades. But the background of this is that the United Nations General Assembly made a political declaration on HIV and AIDS and a resolution to intensifying efforts to eliminate HIV. We all know about the 1999 targets and the overall target of ending AIDS by 2030. So these are the targets. This is a monitoring and evaluation area where you set targets to fast track your ambitions. And the 1999 targets were meant to be achieved by the end of 2020. And they were focusing on diagnosing people with HIV, those who are positive, linking them to acts, and supporting them to achieve what we call viral suppression. That was the aim, and then to reduce the global infection of HIV to 500,000 per year. So how do you do this? How do you monitor this process? There were targets which were created in the framework of indicators, which was meant to reflect new targets and the elimination. And then after this, there would be a declaration. This progress by the UN Secretary General. He reports to the General Assembly in terms of implementation of this, and also in terms of the reporting of the Sustainable Development Goals. So the Global AIDS Monitoring Report, ladies and gentlemen, comes in that sense, that it is one of the most important HIV and AIDS progress monitoring tools that we use. It provides information on national programs and scale up of priority health sector interventions for treatment, prevention, care and support, including interventions for women and children. But not only that, the report also outlines the financial support for the HIV and AIDS intervention programs. So as you will soon learn, This report, which we're about to present today, shows that Zimbabwe has dramatically succeeded in bending the trajectory of the AIDS epidemic and achieved all the 390s. I'm glad to say that this has also been confirmed by the recent ZIMFIA, whose results are now out. These achievements have emboldened us to pursue the next targets, the 95, 95, 95 by 2025, as we inch towards ending AIDS as a public health threat by 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, we will listen to a detailed presentation by my team, on the progress we have made in relation to the 1990 fast-track targets and the United Nations General Assembly political declaration on HIV and AIDS co-indicators framework. After that, we will then have a question and answer session to address any questions you may have. Colleagues, I'm therefore exceedingly happy to once again warmly welcome you. Feel at home at the home of the national response to HIV. I thank you.
Let's appreciate. Thank you very much, Dr. Madzima. What it means is we are now at home, we are free. Kindly jot down your questions as Mr. Mpofu making his presentation. Already, I see commitment to end AIDS by 2030. Some people still do not appreciate what we mean by commitment to end AIDS by 2030. Mr. Mpofu, as he does his presentation, will also answer to this statement, what does it really mean? And why do we as a nation have to present this report every year in, year out, we have to present it? Why? Why is it so important? Why would other countries care to know what is happening in Zimbabwe? Therefore, we want to share this information with you so that you can also share with your target audience, with your readers, with your clients, and even share it with your families. Because when they ask you, ndoonoita news dzeutano, ndoonombotaura zveHIV, hanzi taapapi, chakukunda chimwe HIV neCOVID chi, vanenge vatobvunza iwewe, because you always interacting with the experts. Therefore, we kindly ask you, if you are not clear in any area, please ask, so that you are also able to share this information with your stakeholders. Thank you very much, Mr. Mpofu. We now give you the floor to do your presentation. Let's give him a hand of encouragement. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO, Dr. Madzima, Head of the National AIDS Council. And thank you also for giving me the report. It's not a very long report, it's a very short report so that we have got enough time for discussion. The first issue that I should explain is that the commitment is to end AIDS by 2030. We are not ending HIV. We are ending AIDS. AIDS, it means that no one will be ill or no one will fail to do their business because they have AIDS. So treatment will be available. So what it means, HIV will remain with us for some time. So we are not stopping our intervention. If at all, we really need to scale up our intervention so that we eradicate HIV. Allow me to present the report on the global commitment. There are about 10 targets that were given by the high level. These are our countries, they come together and they agree on these commitments. They apply to all African countries, which includes Zimbabwe. I'm not going to go through each one of them, but as we present, you will see how Zimbabwe has fared in achieving these commitments. There are 10 of them. Zimbabwe, among other countries, is expected to report on global AIDS monitoring. We do our reports by the end of March, 31st March, which was yesterday. So yesterday we sent our report, and the United Nations is acknowledged receiving Zimbabwean report. The good thing is that Zimbabwe submitted the report on time, because we are among other countries, and we are competing for this space to comply to United Nations commitment. So we managed to submit our report on time, and we really thank Dr. Madzima and the Minister of Health for compiling this report and making sure it's submitted on time. This report that we are doing today also answers the fast track targets. I think we heard about the fast track targets. Dr. Madzima has explained to them the 390s. So in this report, we want to see how Zimbabwe has performed towards achieving the 390s. I think you can agree with me that the country really had a vision towards achieving this, and we all worked hard, including the media, to make sure we achieve the fast track targets. And for us to compile this report, we need to also do what you call HIV estimates, which we have done in this country. We are also using that data to input into the spectrum so that we are able to report. What we realized is that our national HIV estimates, actually, they were almost similar with the Zimfia report. There was overlap of confidence interval, which shows that we are doing so well in our measurements. Allow me to therefore present the results of this report. In terms of HIV population, as you can see, we have got 1,278,000 people living with HIV. As you note, our graph looks like a normal curve. I think you can see. I think that's the beauty of Zimbabwe. That on its own, to see that normal curve, it shows that whatever we are doing is normal. I think you remember at school when you were dealing with normal curves. You see that curve is nicer for Zimbabwe. For other countries, it's not like that. You can only see it in Zimbabwe. And what we are happy with is that when you look at here, you can actually see that the population that is living with HIV is retained in care. They are alive and working. And that is a positive, it is positive for us because it shows that we are retaining our people alive, even if they have got HIV. In terms of percentage, our prevalence is at 11.9. Our Zimfia came up with the prevalence of 12%, of which 11.9 is closer to 12%. And that's the population living with HIV. In terms of our provinces, I think you can see they are actually following the similar trend. All the 10 provinces are following the similar trend in terms of prevalence. In terms of prevalence by district, then you will realize that there are some districts that are recording higher prevalence. For example, in this case, we see Cholocho, that is still recording prevalence of 21.9, and the Binga being the lowest with 5.3 prevalence. And when you go to our GIS map, you can actually see that other colors are darker than others. The southern region, you can see that they are darker colors compared to the northern region. So this information helps us to know where to prioritize our interventions, because we really need to know the picture of the epidemic for us to prioritize areas, settings, and the demographic variables. Let's move on to incidence, which is the most important indicator to us, which measures HIV transmission. Our incidence is at 0.27. The Zimfia came up with an incidence of 0.45. But when we look at the confidence interval, the Zimfia was ranging from 2.4 to 0.65. Whereas for HIV estimates, it was ranging from 2.4 to 0.65. This gives us confidence in our data that is actually closer, and our data is correct. There is no significant difference in incidence reported in FEAR and HIV estimates as shown above. Here is just to show you the incidence over a period from 2015 to 2020. I'm not going to read these figures really, but as you can see, there's been consistency in decline of incidence from 2015 to 2020. Incidence by district, as you can see as well, the southern region also seems to have higher incidence compared to northern region, but there are other districts in the northern region where you find the incidence is higher. The highest incidence rate was recorded in Bulilima and Mangwe, while Mbire and Muzarabani recorded the lowest. Absolute numbers of infection were highest in Harare, obviously because of the population differences, and the Bulawayo, and the lowest in Mbire and the Rushinga. In terms of mortality, you realize that we still have people who are dying from HIV, 22,000 as projected, and we really need more studies to understand what is happening there. In terms of trends, it shows that we have a downward trend in terms of mortality. As you can see, mortality kept on declining from 2010 up to 2020, which is really a positive indicator. This is just to show you the mortality by district, 100,000 population. I'm not going to go into each of those figures because of time. In terms of when we compare new infections, AIDS, death, and the number of people on Earth, as you can see, that blue one is for our HIV and AIDS population, the people living with HIV. We also have our incidence, that orange one. We also have our Earth, this one, which shows to be going up. Actually, what is exciting, if you see these two graphs which are at the top, if now we make sure that everyone who is HIV positive is put on treatment, then these two should come together. My pointer is too fast. I'm just trying to point. I think you can see those two graphs on top there. They show that if we are closer really to putting most of our clients that are HIV positive on treatment, where the graphs meet will show that we have actually achieved 100%. The two where there is mortality and incidence, I think those two which are going a bit down, when they meet, when the mortality is now lower than the incidence is lower than the mortality, where they meet, then it means we have achieved what we call epidemic control. So when you look at these two indicators, Zimbabwe is really destined for achieving these targets. We are closer to reaching, putting all those who need ART on ART, and we are also closer to reducing new infections to proportions that we reach epidemic control. But we need more work to be done. Here, I just want to show you how we fared against achieving the 390s. I'm looking at the last graph where we have got the 100%, where there's 2020 there. 100%, those are the people living with HIV. What it means, putting those who know their status is the orange one, which is actually at 94.6. And then those that are on ART, which is the gray one, where we are at 99.5. And then for those who are virally suppressed, we are at 89.9. This one, it shows the proportion of achievement in terms of those that know that are HIV positive and they know their HIV status. So what it means here, the last one, which is viral load, where we have got 89.9, I think to the nearest, that is 90, isn't it? So what it means, Zimbabwe has achieved the 390s as according to the fast take targets. But we should understand that even if we have achieved the 390s, we still have a long way to get to 100, isn't it? The next targets, as spelled by the organization, National AIDS Council, Dr. Madzima, and your organization, because you have given us the new target, that now we should focus on achieving the 395s. We can't say 100 because we can't easily reach 100. So we'll take it bit by bit. So for the next 5 years, our next strategy will be focusing on achieving the 395s. I'm quite sure after we achieve the 395s, we are going then to target maybe the 99, so that we actually can declare that Zimbabwe has achieved epidemic control. But there is no reason of not celebrating achieving the fast take target, because it was not only Zimbabwe alone. There are other countries who might have failed to achieve this. So we have done it ourselves, and we should praise ourselves. Dr. Madzima, if it were allowing, you're going to slaughter some beasts, and we celebrate for achieving these results, because this is wonderful work. It's not easy getting to this level. It takes a number of commitments from various sectors. And I'm quite sure as the media, we have done a wonderful job through positive reporting, but also sharing information with the community in terms of behavior check. So this is a milestone in Zimbabwe. We are waiting for this report to be endorsed by UN. Once it's endorsed by UN, it means, therefore, we have all the reasons to celebrate. What has prompted us to achieve these targets? One is the scale up of HIV testing. If you notice, Zimbabwe moved into models that were taking services closer to the people. I think we have heard about the provider-initiated, client-initiated testing, and also facility testing, community-based index testing, HIV self-testing, and several other programs are actually linked with HIV testing. Because when people come for TB, ANC, STI, and also reproductive health programs, we make sure that they are tested for HIV, so that we don't miss opportunities. The other issue is integration of other prevention services, such as voluntary medical circumcision, PrEP, PEP, and also making sure the packages like DREAMS and adolescent and girls and young women, they also test. So this has helped us to identify and pick all those that are HIV positive and make sure that they are put on treatment. Knowledge of the status, I think this is a driving factor, because we believe that if everyone knows their HIV status, then we are closer to achieving our targets. You can see there that there are still other places that still have a challenge, and there we have got Gokwenot in terms of testing. They still have a gap. But whereas Urungu reported the highest of 98.1 in terms of knowing the HIV status. In terms of ART coverage, I want you to realize that this one now is as a percentage of the total population that is living with HIV. In terms of overall coverage, we are at 91.1%. And for adults, we are at 94.1%. For children, we are at 71.8%. This is the highest achievement that we have done. And this has been recorded in Urungwe, where they have got 97.1%, while list also Gokwenot is 76.4%. It means really we have to see how we can help Gokwenot to also make sure that they improve coverage of their HIV testing and also of ART. So all districts, actually except Gokwe North, they have a coverage that is above 80%. And you can see from our map, it's mainly green and yellow. Those are very good to colors, isn't it? Yeah. So the dark color is only there where Gokwe North, where we still have a challenge. Right. Let's move to this one. The issues, I think this one we have discussed, that most of our programs at community level, as you can see, we want to see which program is helping us retain our people on care. And the CATS program seems to be very powerful there, and the CATS. These are community programs. They also helped us during the epidemic, the pandemic of COVID, where we saw people being able to assist each other to access medication. These are community models. PMTCT has done so well, but we are seeing a negative trend there, where there was a bit of increase in EMTCT to 8.7%, but this increase is very is slight, not very heavy. But this is a warning sign, which we should not ignore. We really need to understand why this coverage is going down, and also why the EMTC rate is increasing. And we'll need to carry studies here to understand what is happening, because we want to retain our gains. But obviously, because of limited movement due to COVID, this could have led us to get such a result. Condoms, there was also a decline in the condoms that were distributed, which is not a positive issue. And this is all because of COVID. Voluntary medical male circumcision, there was also a sharp decline, as you can see there, that sharp decline. This is all because of COVID. And we want to make sure that COVID does not impact negatively on HIV programming. And we are looking forward to designing programs that are going to be COVID friendly, or the issue of mainstreaming COVID into our interventions, making sure that we kill two birds with one stone. There is an issue of key populations where Zimbabwe was not able to report in previous years. This year, we managed to report about female sex workers, and the results for 2020 are there as follows, where we have got percentage of sex workers reporting the use of condom in their most recent client, their most recent client, 43.4, and also percentage of sex workers living with HIV receiving antiretroviral therapy in the past 12 months, 58.5%. For MSM, transgender, and prisoners, we're not able to report on these indicators, but we saw the country moving towards scaling up programs for key populations. And really, there is some data this time, and I'm quite sure our report will be very exciting, because these are the areas which were left behind. NAC continues to integrate HIV into other programs, including emergencies and COVID. And as you can see, Dr. Mshavi is doing a lot there. And our Chief Executive Officer and Communications Director, they are also doing a lot in terms of making sure we integrate HIV into other programs that are ongoing. This is the best practice Zimbabwe has done. So let me thank you for the opportunity. I think I have ended my presentation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's give Mr. Pope another round of applause. Well done, Mr. Pope. Yeah, I'm sure you walked us through, and our dear journalists were able to take notes. And so this is the time for us to then ask questions, to direct them both to Mr. Mpu and the chief. They are able, I can assure you, to give you answers and explain. I just felt sorry for those who were far when perhaps were being presented, that at times you don't then see things the way you want. And I'm sure the presentation can be better, so that those who want to do a further analysis, they can do so. So now this is the opportunity for us to take questions. We'll take the first round of 3, they answer, and then we take another round until we're done. Show of hands, those who would like to. There's Robert, Theo, the third one. Zoro. Okay, in that order.
For example, your report talks about homosexuality. What about male sex?
Thank you. Theo? Okay. Zoro?
Because I understand that you mentioned that we have specific areas
Okay. Thank you. These are the first 3 questions. Mr. Pofu.
Thank you so much. Yeah. For the female sex workers and male sex workers, we are looking at both. But unfortunately, the data we have now warning signs where we have seen our PMTCT data is showing a negative trend. VMMC is showing a negative trend. Other indicators have not yet started showing. But the good thing about monitoring is that when you see a trend, then you have to avert it. And I'm quite sure our CEO is always saying, guys, make sure that in every program that you're implementing, and you also integrate COVID. I think you have seen that because the 2 pandemics, actually you will notice that they are all caused by a virus. But we needed to address issues like when we talk about movement, we need to improve our community program so that we reach to where people are. There is nothing wrong with a lockdown because it's a prevention method for COVID. But what can we do to make sure that people continue to get a service, either prevention or treatment, even when there is COVID? This is where NAC is coming in and taking programs closer to the people to fill the gap. We are work day and night to make sure we don't reverse these gains. But really we are seeing a negative trend, and we are working on strategies of abating this.
Thank you. Maybe I can just add, thank you, Mr. for the report and for that response. But let me address the issue of impact of COVID-19 on the HIV program. I think indeed COVID-19 impacted on all health programs, including HIV. The impact really is felt if you look at even funding, source for funding, global funding, HIV. The normal donors of the program are now also looking at funding the COVID program. So that will lessen the resources which will come to the program itself. But there was also a disruption of the supply chain of ARVs and commodities globally because of the lockdowns which happened, especially in Europe and in the United States, and the travel restrictions. In Zimbabwe, we also saw that, especially in the first lockdown, where people who didn't have adequate documentation, could not travel, not access health facilities. And the whole of last year, really, we tried to be innovative to try and get around some of these obstacles as National AIDS Council, ensuring that our program does not regress. Some of the things which we did was to make sure that provinces redistribute their stock so that they were not going to stock out in the district. But at the same time, we were then giving our clients 6 months worth of supply of that to make sure that we restrict movement. I know that in Midlands, for example, there came a point when our staff were actually going door by door to distribute antiretroviral drug to our clients. So these are things which have happened, which have evolved in this new normal. And we are really trying to also keep pace and make sure that on these achievements which have been presented, come 2022, we will not see a downward trend or a reversal of these gains. So we continue to work to make sure that COVID-19 is part of us. We have to deal with it, but other programs don't have to face. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mazima and Mr. Mpofu for the responses. So shall we take another round of questions? Zoro, Robert, Theo. The order is just changing. Okay, let me see who else. Faithful, did you want to ask? Okay, I'll start with you, then we go to Robert and the rest.
Is not going to affect the issue of testing? Because I think people have their
Okay, we are done. Thank you. Robert?
I just wanted to find out what might be the reason why HIV rate lower.
And the high incidence in Kundinima and low in Dire. Okay. Theo?
So there's this problem here that is going to be spiked as a result of I just wanted to find out how spot is very actually trigger.
Okay. Zoro?
My question is you mentioned that the next I just want to find out specific portion
Okay. I saw Janet. Do you want to ask? Kauris? Eh. You got the question? Okay, thank you. Thank you for your questions. Now I hand over to Mr. First and then to the chief.
Thank you so much for the questions. Yeah, the issue of testing, HIV testing. Yes. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we are almost closer to reaching epidemic control. It has become so difficult to get those that are HIV. When you find a positive case, it becomes like gold. You should follow to see who are also related to that positive. Because if you miss that, then it becomes difficult to get a positive test from the public point of view. Maybe this is why now we are starting to ask questions so that when you get a positive test, that becomes an index test. You want to find out where did they get infection. Because when we go and do testing maybe at the bus terminus there, at times we get 0 HIV positive, 0%. Or 0 clients who are HIV positive. So, but we have used our resources to do that, isn't it? So it has become costly to find those that are HIV positive. When you find an index case, take that opportunity to also track and make sure you find the contact so that they are brought on treatment. Because the most important thing is that most of those that are HIV positive should be put on treatment so that we save life. We don't want anyone to die from AIDS anymore. But we are seeing people still dying because of stigma, isn't it? So you get an index, then you do, actually what you saw there is one of the commit program, which is called index testing. This is what we are doing. The other strategy that is key is self-test. Because self-test, you don't have to go to an institute to be tested. But remember, self-test result is not final on its own. You need that to be confirmed at a clinic so that you are put on treatment. So we encourage self-test, we encourage index testing, and we encourage people to open up so that we fight the stigma, so that we are able to get the contact. There are a lot of ethics around the contacts. Our workers have been trained on how to handle those issues so that they don't create unnecessary problems within the communities. Otherwise, our sites are still open for testing. And the issue is they have to assess what you call risk assessment, isn't it? Because also we want to see that the investment in a kit will give us a positive result. Because when you get a negative result, we have wasted our kit, isn't it? But the person has known their result, isn't it? So they will live positive. This is why we continue testing. But we do an assessment so that we save the liquid testing kits that we have. But our strategy is making sure anyone who wants to be tested, they should get that test. Then the issue of Cholocho and the Binga. Obviously, Cholocho being one of our border districts with our neighboring countries, which is Botswana and South Africa. We have most of our people working there. They always come. Some of them don't even have travel documents and so on. So these are the problems that we are facing because our borders are also open to other countries. So you find districts like Cholocho, Plumtree, Bulilima, I think you saw Bulilima. They have got a higher incidence and prevalence, reflecting on the migration between the the countries, the border towns. Binga, I think Binga culturally, you know that they are very strict, isn't it? Yes. In Binga, when you get there, you have to be very careful because they are very strict on their morals and their culture. As a result, we see the epidemic is lower. So really, it shows some of these cultural practice can assist us in controlling HIV in the case of Binga. Then Dr. Mazima will answer the other issue about HIV and COVID. Then the issue of trends. I think we have realized that we are monitoring trends. Every time there is a change in the trend, we ask ourselves why. And this is why we are here. Ladies and gentlemen, HIV programs are not going to fail because this is the reason why we exist. Dr. Mazima, I think we want to make sure your program succeeds. Otherwise, my head will burn the globe. Dr. Mazima was saying, oh, what are you doing? I sent you to make sure that there are no new infections. We have to think about models that will take us there. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are not sleeping when we see this trend. We don't sleep at all. We work day and night to make sure we achieve our targets. I think we have seen communication department, our monitoring department, our operations department. Even now, we are working on local production for HIV medicine to making sure that the private sector and the government work together, isn't it? And they get manufacturing of ARVs locally so that we don't depend only on donor-funded programs. So really, there's a lot that we are doing as a country to make sure we move towards ending AIDS by 2030. I think the issues of pregnancies at home, those are some of the issues which are very negative. And PMTCD department in the Ministry of Health and Child Care is working on this. We are working with them to assess the bottlenecks to say, why are people giving birth at home? We know that travel restriction might have caused this. But I think in our next step, you shall see that we are working on making sure that we take the services closer to where people are. And we mitigate some of these challenges of movement. And these are mainly maybe due to prioritizing those who are pregnant to make sure they access letters, isn't it? So that they can move freely. I think those issues can be done, but we are monitoring closely what is happening in the PMTC program. As you saw from the results here, there is a negative trend, and that's a worry to us.
Thank you. Just to add just a few words on the issue of fearing of a spike HIV because of COVID-19. I think it's very true, but it's not only true for the HIV program. It's true for all the health indicators that we might regress in the maternal and child health program, reproductive health program, because most of the attention now for the past year has been to COVID-19. But one thing which we have learned as a country really is that countries need to be self-sustaining and not rely too much on donors. Because once something happened in Europe and America, donor funding drastically went down. And as countries most affected by HIV, they are mainly African countries, and we need to increase our domestic funding for health. I'm glad to say that the Minister of Health and Child Care, like what my colleague has alluded, they are now looking very seriously in terms of manufacturing most of these medical commodities locally. The issues of importing syringes, of importing gloves, of importing basic drugs like paracetamol has to go away. So that's the new thrust in the Ministry of Health and Child Care. That's the new policy direction, that we need to support local manufacturing of these commodities. Because we have seen that during the COVID lockdown, people could not travel. The shipment would not come in. Even if you and your man, you could not go outside the country to get treatment. So we need to strengthen our health facilities and make sure that they are offering comprehensive care to all those people who need it. So this is one positive thing which has come out of this COVID. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's another question which you sent.
Yes,
It was a question.
Yes.
Okay. So here it's saying, can we safely say that ZIM has enough ARVs to stock for 2021 and going forward in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic? Yes, National AIDS Council is one of the key players in the supply of ARVs in this country. We procure almost 20% of the ARVs in Zimbabwe. So we are working closely with our partners, mainly Global Fund and the USA, to make and the Ministry of Health and NatFarm to make sure that our supply chain management is not disrupted. We also work closely with the PMD, the provincial medical director, to make sure that stocks are equitably distributed to our country. So at the moment, yes, I'm glad that stock which we have and with projections, we will not face any disruption for 2020.
do we still have any burning questions, or you would like to then do individual recording?
I would just ask my last one. In Midlands, if I'm not mistaken, Chadiwakina, Gokwe South seems to be doing very well. But when you look now across the border, Gokwe North, in terms of knowledge status, it's very high. What might be the reason? Is it because so much resources is concentrated the other side, ignoring Gokwe South?
Thank you. It's a very difficult question because he's asking for attribution. Yeah, I'm quite sure our team is working on a study to understand the dynamics. What really is causing that challenge if all factors are equal. But we suspect that this issue of culture might be the factor in Gokwe South. It's one of the districts, Gokwe North and Gokwe South, I think they are almost equal. They are also closer to being. So we really want to understand the implications of social factors on access to treatment. Why are we having this challenge when we have invested so much? But obviously we have got our own speculation to say, I think cultural factors are a factor there involved. And we have to deal with those factors. For us to deal with those factors, I think the issue of involving the traditional leadership in our intervention is key, because the traditional leaders, they live with the people. They know the people better. And we will try to explore those programs are already there, but want to scale up, but further do research to understand these dynamics. Otherwise, we are not ahead with that trend, because the good thing about this report then tells us where the pockets where the problems are. So now we are going to do follow-up studies to focus on those areas where there is a negative trend and address there. And the Freeman there as our research officer, obviously they are already designing some evaluation programs to understand those factors.
Thank you, Mr. Mo. Thank you. No burning questions? Okay. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you coming, and we don't take it for granted. Today is a half day. We are on our way to the village. We are doing other things, and everyone is busy. But we appreciate you taking time to come here and to receive our report. We do hope that should you face any challenges or somewhere where it's not clear in the report, come back to us. The report is for the whole year, so we can be teasing out issues from time to time, very this report, so that we are on track or we clarify things to our stakeholders, as well as our leaders and our listeners. So I thank you again. Shall we have someone pray for us? And then after this, you are free to interact with